Okay, here's the pot. It's what you might call leather hard. It's firm. It's no longer plastic, but it's by no means dry. It's quite damp, cool to the touch. Rubbed it all over with a smooth stone so that I've kind of smoothed it. There's no chunks sticking up. There's no gaps or holes or cracks in it. It's ready to receive the slip. Hey guys, so today I'm going to slip, polish, and paint that pot that I made last time. If you don't know who I am, my name's Andy Ward. I teach how to make pottery the way the ancients did in the American Southwest centuries ago. And if you subscribe to my channel, I'll teach you too. Here's my white slip. This is the stuff I get up near St. John's, Arizona, up near the Little Colorado River. And today I'm going to be attempting to apply it with a little mop of beaver fur that Mott's Merman gave me. He got, I don't know, an old jacket or something, just cut it up with these little bits of beaver fur. That's not too bad. I'll buy that for $1. That's pretty good. Put too much pressure and you get problems. You want to keep it fairly thin. I think what you want, just judging by the prehistoric sherds I've looked at, is one coat. One thin coat. And honestly, even if it looks thick now, it won't be when it dries, believe me. As clay dries, it shrinks, of course. A lot of times when you first apply slip, you'll be like, oh, I got that kind of thick. And then after a little while, you'll be seeing through it as it dries, and you'll think, I might need another coat there. But the trick with this stuff is to resist the urge to add another coat, even if you feel like you want to. Because you get it too thick, and then it crackles. And if you look at the prehistoric Salado sherds, that slip is super thin. So that's the key, is looking at the sherds and trying to figure out, it's the goal anyway, how they did it, what they did. Oh, I'm making a mess on the bottom end though, I gotta say. And places up at the top where it started to dry a little bit. Don't want to make it too thick. Maybe I can clean that off with a wet finger or something. Because that bottom end should be really tight on the area I want slipped only. If you look at the prehistoric sherds, there wasn't a lot of overlap between the red and the white. In fact, it was almost just a solid line, as though it had been painted on with a brush. But the larger areas look more like this, like it was mopped on or something. So I don't know how to rectify all that, except to just keep experimenting and trying different things. It's the first time I've ever done it with the beaver mop. So, as I said, this is an experimental jar. It's going to be experimentally fired, so we'll see how it comes out. But I think I got a good coat on there. I think I got one good, relatively thin coat. Finished slipping the outside with white, but I still have to do the red. This beaver for putting on the slip, I'm not too sure about, because you can see it's very inconsistent. There's places where it's quite thick and there's other places where it's quite thin, so I'm not sure I'm going to do that again. But this is an experimental pot, so we'll see how it works out. This is going to need a little bit of hitting with a stone on the inside too. It's kind of got some rough spots that need to be dealt with. That can all be done before it dries completely. And then I need to put red on the bottom and on the inside. This is just my red hematite that I collected. If you saw my video a couple weeks ago where I was collecting hematite, it's that material, just mixed with water. See it there? And so I'm just mixing it up because it's been setting for a while and it's settled to the bottom. About that rim, I'm just gonna get a smooth. This is a smooth polishing stone, and I'm just gonna get it wet and run over these areas. Any place where it's kind of lumpy, you can kind of, as long as it's not too dry, you can kind of knock those down, smooth it out a little bit. And then just a wet finger, kind of finish smoothing it off. Good, and then you can feel for any rough areas too while you're doing that. Okay, so this is pretty much ready for red. So for painting the red, I've got these two yucca brushes, and I just rotted the flesh off of them so that the fibers were exposed. And then I've trimmed these down so they're fairly short, because you need a long brush for pulling straight lines, but for painting slip, just want a short brush. So I'm just holding these two brushes, these two yucca leaves together as one. If I was going to use this long term this way, I might actually put some glue in between there, or even wrap it with a little bit of string to hold them together. But for this scenario, this should work pretty good. Now sometimes when you've just painted the bottom with slip, it's delicate. You don't want to scratch it up. So what I'll do, I'll take a little bit of cotton cloth and I'll sit it gently on that cotton cloth. That'll keep the pookie from scratching the bottom. Now I'm ready to slip my top portion red. So now that I've got it all slipped, I've still got to polish that slip. So I've given it a little time to set up, that slip to firm up a little bit so it's not wet. And it's kind of like coloring. When you're coloring in a coloring book and you need to stay in the lines, it's like that. You don't want to rub your red into your white. See. So, and the same way with when you're doing the white, you don't want to smear into the red. You'll streak it. So you need to kind of stay on top of the correctly slipped colors when you're polishing that. I'm just Polishing carefully inside the line. I can be a little more enthusiastic when I'm away from the line. Just polishing that red, and that does a couple of things. It makes it smoother, but it also sets that red down into the clay. It pushes those red hematite particles down into the clay and binds them good so that they won't rub off later. And you can get sometimes a little bit of pigment on the end of your stone. You can wipe it off with your finger sometimes. Sometimes if it's a little thicker, you know, rub it on my pants, or you can even wash the stone, but you'll want to make sure it's not dripping wet when you go to polish. And this kind of a polish, when it's still damp like this, is not going to make it real glossy. If you want to make it real glossy, you've got to come back and polish it again when it's drier. There'll be a couple of little spots right along the edge here. And if you hold it to the light, you know, at the right angle, then you can see those spots that are dull and not glossy. And those are the places that you missed. That's pretty much it for the red. You can see that glossiness on the rim. Now I'm also going to go over the white, which means I need to wash my rock a little bit and get all of that hematite off of it, because I don't want to be smearing red on my white slip. And I'm going to be real gentle with this white, because it's a little more fragile than the red, and if you put too much pressure, sometimes it'll kind of peel up. So now I've got it all slipped. The pot sat outside and dried all day. We're ready to put on some paint. You can see that the slip is very thin. You can see brown through it in a number of places. That's partially because I have to put the slip on very thin to keep it from crackling, and partially because I think the application with that beaver fur was kind of uneven. So like I said, just a test pot, so we'll see. I have some organic paint here. This one is made from mesquite beans boiled down. I have a video on that I filmed earlier you can watch. And this is Rocky Mountain bee plant that was given to me by a friend that lives up on the Colorado Plateau where it grows. I've got a number of yucca leaf brushes here that have been soaking in water so that their fibers are soft and pliable, which will make them easier to use. Basically, these are just the yucca leaf rotted down with all the pulp taken off, so it's just the fibers, and then trimmed. So I split the leaf down to a narrower size and use a scissor to trim the end. Alright guys, I'm going to finish painting this pot. I'll be back next week with another video, and then I'll probably have a video of me firing this week after next. I think next week is going to be a video about my upcoming workshops. So, thanks for watching. Catch you later.